joining us, a man who has had experience both in the Congress and with trying to fashion solutions in healthcare. You see him on CNN's Crossfire. Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, welcome to America's Forum.
JD, it's great to be with you, and you put your finger on one of the 4 or 5 current scandals rocking this administration. The extraordinary failure of Secretary Shinseki and the Veterans Administration, which has literally led to the deaths of a number of veterans. It has led to, I think, criminal behavior and illegally deleting applications and changing files and hiding information. And we, last night at Gingrich Productions, I did a newsletter which included a map. And the map just shows you both from your home state of Arizona, scandals in Phoenix, Los Angeles, in Oregon, and Washington State, in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Fort Collins, Colorado. All across the country, there is case after case of mismanagement, inefficiency, illegality in the Veterans Administration. And when the American Legion felt that they had to call for Secretary Shinseki's resignation, that was a sign how bad things had gotten.
So, Newt, we see how bad things are. We had the vote today in the VA committee to subpoena this cabinet-level secretary to testify in front of the committee. Now, Newt, correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, we have separation of powers, but in terms of congressional oversight, it's expected that a cabinet-level secretary, when invited, will come before a committee. To have to issue a subpoena tells us what about Shinseki and what about the Obama administration in terms of the way in which they regard the Congress.
Well, General Shinseki had a long career, an honorable career in the Army, but he doesn't seem to understand the difference between serving in the Army and being a cabinet officer. Cabinet officers have a genuine, immediate obligation to report to the Congress. The Congress has to provide them their money. And frankly, the size of the Veterans Administration is breathtaking. It employs more people than the entire U.S. Marine Corps. It is an enormous institution. It has grown dramatically in the last 12 years, and we have not seen a comparable improvement in performance or improvement in taking care of wounded warriors or improvement in taking care of aging veterans. And Secretary Shinseki owes it to the country to have a public testimony to explain what has gone wrong. And as I said, when you look at the map that we produced letter at Gingrich Productions last night, it has state after state that has problems. I mean, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, Louisiana. It's astonishing to me how many places there are problems in the Veterans Administration and how much we need deep systemic replacement of the current failed bureaucracies.
Now, Newt, you have spent a good portion of your public life focusing on solutions. Indeed, you put together memorable nationwide town hall meetings trying to focus on solutions. On one hand, we have my old friend Louis Gohmert saying if you think VA healthcare is bad, wait until you see Obamacare, conceding that Louis may have a point from his congressional district in Texas about the problems with Obamacare. What do we do now about veterans' health care? What solutions do you see to bring about, as you talk about, this systemic change that is necessary?
Well, I think there are 2 really big first steps. One is to allow veterans to have the right to take the monetary value of their care and get it on the private sector. So if they want to go to their local doctor or they want to go to their local hospital, you'd in effect blend it towards Medicare and give veterans the right to choose. And in a lot of states, of course, it is many, many miles to the veterans hospital, and it might be much preferable to allow people to have local access to local doctors and local hospitals, both in terms of convenience and in terms of cost and in terms of quality of outcome. The second, I think, is to rethink from the ground up the very nature of the system. These large bureaucracies all date back intellectually to the 1880s, which was about the time of the invention of the manual typewriter. And when people talk about reforming these bureaucracies, they're really talking about getting a slightly better manual typewriter. We live in an age with smartphones and automatic teller machines and all the different things that you're used to, where you could design a new 21st century Veterans Administration in which every veteran had an app on their smartphone that provided them an enormous amount of information. All of the reservations could be made automatically, electronically. You know, if you want to make an airline reservation or you want to make a hotel reservation, you don't have to wait 173 days. And yet the Veterans Administration, which is a paper-based, old-fashioned bureaucracy, is just hopelessly slow and hopelessly inefficient. So I don't think, I'm hoping we won't just go back to the same old scapegoating. You know, let's fire 12 people, have a lot of noise, and think we solved it. I hope they will look very deeply and seriously at fundamentally replacing the obsolete paper-based model bureaucracy with a new information-age system.
Right, and with about a minute left here, in terms of what happens with the personnel involved, is it time for General Shinseki to step down as Secretary of Veterans Affairs?
Oh, absolutely. It is impossible to look at the range of scandals and believe that he could possibly fix it. This is not to say anything about his record as a soldier, which was very admirable, but this is a job he could not do, he did not do, and I think the evidence is overwhelming. And anybody who doubts that, go to Gingrich Productions. Look at the map we attached to our newsletter last night. You look at all those different cities that have a problem. Shinseki clearly can't solve that.
Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, now host of Crossfire on CNN, and a self-described military brat, growing up as your dad was in the Army. We appreciate your input. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Coming up, political potluck. Stay with us. That's next.